Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another Canva tutorial. My name is Ed and today I'll be showing you how to world build with Canva. Knowing how to world build comes in handy when designing scenes, illustrations, or even art. In this tutorial, I'll be sharing a handy checklist you can go through when building your world, and then I'll be showing you how to build a scene from scratch. So let's jump into Canva and get building.
Here we are in Canva. Before we get into world building, I've put together a few slides for us which will give us some great insights into creating illustrated worlds. So first up, it's important for us to begin thinking about the context of our design. What are we designing, and how can things like our background, the ambience, our foreground, and supporting features of our design visually support our subject or subjects in this design? Another great consideration is perspective. Is it a flat lay, front on, or something in between? This will determine which graphics, elements, and other visuals we use in this world to remain consistent, and so that mismatched elements don't look so displaced in our setting. Following on from perspective is physics. Much like perspective, physics provide a bit of a law for us to work with while designing. How many dimensions are there? Is it 2D and flat? Somewhere in between 2D and 3D where there is a third dimension insinuated, meaning 2.5D? Or is it 3D, where a third dimension is clearly identifiable? And now on our next slide, lighting. Do we need to consider the trajectory of any light sources when using shadows in our design? So as you can see here, we've got our light source in the middle, casting a linear shadow onto our subject here, and the shadow is behind our subject. It wouldn't make sense to have the shadow over here because this area would be illuminated. The aforementioned are just some basics. From here out, there are some tips that can take your illustrated worlds a step further. Tip 1. Consider centering your subject and or using color to draw the eyes of viewers to the hero element, subject, or object in your illustration. So for this particular example, we can see a lot of dark colors have been used around our subject, and then you can obviously see there's a light source here drawing the eyes to this brighter portion of the image with a lot of harsh shadows cast alongside here. We've got these orange peels and these oranges or mandarins, can't really see from this angle, but these oranges or mandarins along the side here also drawing attention, and we can clearly see that this is about orange pancakes. Tip 2. If you've opted for a 2.5D or 3D looking design, consider simulating depth by adding blur to objects in your background. It's a great way to create distance between objects in your background and foreground. How this has been done for this particular example is, we've got our subject up front here, and behind our subject we have this slightly blurred background to simulate some distance between our background and our foreground or subject over here. And lastly, tip 3. Have a think about ambience. Which kinds of objects, people, animals, or elements in general can I add to my design to ground this design in the world we're building? So from here, we're going to build a design taking into account what we've just learned. Here is our example illustration. The background is already done for us. What we can do here is we can select the background and click this eye symbol over here for info, and we can see what we might have searched to find this element. So it's a free element, and we could have searched field of green, grass, trees, and blue sky, or any of these keywords over here to have found this image in the Photos tab. We can also add this to likes, or we can add to one of our folders to find this easily later on. So from here, our background's done, it's green. We've got the ambience, foreground, subjects, and supporting elements or objects outstanding. So let's work from background to ambience to start off with. From here, we are going to look at this background and think, what can we immediately add to create a layer of depth or a layer of immersion into our design? So immediately I'm thinking we can add a sun, just because there is some brighter sort of patches of grass over here. So I think a sun could go over here. I'm also thinking we could add some birds maybe flying in the background, maybe a plane up here somewhere, just to sort of ground it in the modern day world, I guess. So we're just going to do that really quickly. I'm going to head to elements and search for sun. From here, we've got some great suns. I want something that's semi-cartoon looking, but semi also real looking. I think I might go for something like this and just move that up into the corner like so. I'm going to crop the edges out just so it's not sort of coming out of our background bounds, and I'm liking that. Cool. Next up, we're going to search for some birds, and we've got quite a number here. I'm just going to look through and find some that could be suitable for us. I would prefer to use a flock of birds, So let's go back up here. I think this might be good. This might be a bit too much. These are a bit dark looking. I might go for these, and I kind of like the color that we've already got. And I might put these just over here. Put them off in the distance a little bit. Maybe coming from the trees down there. From here, I'm also gonna search for a plane. I'm not too fussed about the colors of these birds just because they could be dark colored birds to start with, and the sun might be amplifying said color of these birds because they're in a distance as well. We don't have to have any complex coloring. It could just be that they're too far away to have any colors discernible. So I'm not too fussed about that. Same with this plane. I think we can make this plane the same sort of shade as the birds, like that dark gray. I don't want to go for complete black. And we can put this sort of in the distance. Like so. Again, I want these to sort of be like little Easter eggs. I'm not too fussed about how large these are. It's sort of one of those things where if the viewer's looking at it and look long enough, they'll spot these things. I don't want them to be too overbearing or too noticeable. Just something lightly in the background, creating some ambience for us, which is what the objective of these elements are. I think we are done with ambience. Next up is our foreground. So I think the kind of scene that we're looking to create here could be a picnic. So I'm going to search for picnic in photos. And I think like if we have a basket or something here, that could be cool. So I'm going to find a photo here which has a basket sort of like that actually. Now what I could potentially do here is go to effects, background remover, and try and isolate this picnic blanket and basket, and maybe we can overlay that in the top front corner over here of our background image. Let's give this a sec. Yep. Okay. And the cool thing is that we've actually got some grass specks sort of protruding over there, which is quite cool. It gives a bit of, again, depth to the picnic basket. So from here, I think we can notice that the sun is sort of coming from this way and there's a shadow there. The shadow would need to be somewhere over here. So what I might do quickly is I might actually flip this image just so the shadows are facing the other way. Cool. So we've got our picnic basket. The shadow is in the correct spot. I'm just going to now crop this to our background just to make sure that we don't have any protrusions there. And I might move that 1 unit over. And this is looking great. The shadow is in the correct spot. It's being cast down here because the sun's above us. And now our foreground is complete. We've set a bit of context here. It's a nice day out in the park. We've got a picnic blanket, picnic basket, and our subject will be a dog that we're playing fetch with while we're picnicking. So I'm gonna like quickly make this foreground green because we have completed that part of the design. Next up is the subject, which again was the dog. So we're gonna search for dog here in photos, and we're looking for a dog that is attentive and probably looking to play fetch with us. So I think this one up here is actually quite good to start with. I might quickly have a little look around. If I don't find any better, I might just go for that one. Yep, we've got that there, but I think I'm quite set on this actually. Perfect. So we're gonna place this dog here at the front. And again, we're gonna look to cast some shadows, preferably around here, around the hind legs and the front left legs of the dog. So I'm gonna click the dog, go to effects, shadows, and I think for this, we might look at doing a backdrop kind of shadow. So it's out of the shadow kind of in its default way. We're going to click on this sort of options button over here to head in and fine tune these shadows. So the vertical angle is determining how high, I guess, this shadow goes. So as I turn this or adjust this, you can see the shadow heading down, which is kind of where we want it. And that's looking good to me. It's very subtle, but again, makes a difference. Happy with that. Next up is a tennis ball. Not a tennis ball, a tennis ball. And we've actually got one here that has a shadow already, which is awesome. And it's facing the angle we want as well. So I like that. And we're gonna put that tennis ball just beside the dog over here. And I might actually make the dog a tad bit smaller, just because looking at scale, we don't want the dog to be too much larger than the picnic basket, and we don't want this ball to be massive either. So you have to take into account things like scale, again, just to get the right amount of immersion in there. If things are looking too massive or too disproportionate next to each other, it might throw the viewer off and get rid of that realism that we're looking for. So now we've got our subjects in place, and this is coming together quite nicely. Next up, we have our supporting elements. So I think at the moment we're the only ones in this park, right? So I think it could do us well to have some other picnickers in the background. So again, so far we've got sort of like a front on / angled kind of perspective here. I'm gonna look for other picnickers who might be at the same sort of angle like these guys over here. So I'm gonna quickly run some background remover on that and try and isolate the actual picnic scene. I don't want any of this foreground or background in there. And they've also got a dog, which is quite cool as well. It could make this kind of seem like a dog park in a sense. And they're looking a bit dark because the lighting of the previous image was a bit different. So I'm going to lighten this up, add some brightness to it. And I'm just going to put that off in the distance, somewhere like that. And no need for shadows for that one because it is quite a distance away. I think the shadow would look too noticeable from here. That's looking quite real so far. I'm quite surprised. We might go for one more sort of picnic scene and add that somewhere. Let me just find something that I think could work here. I think that could be cool. Let's run that through background remover as well. And guys, background remover is a Canva Pro feature, but it's well worth it. It's come in handy a few times today. And the basket seems to have been cut off. So what I might do is I might click restore here, and I'll try and bring some of this picnic basket back. Even if there is a bit of grass, I might just also adjust the brush size. So guys, this is a feature of background remover that's available on desktop / web. It comes in handy sometimes when background remover isn't as precise as we'd like it to be. So I'm going to try this out. Again, it's designed sometimes as a bit of trial and error. If this still doesn't look right, I might change it and use a different sort of image. It's a bit too sharp there, as we can see. I like how this is slightly blurred. So what we might do here again is head to adjust, and I might add some blur to this just because I don't like how clear they sort of are. We want them off in a distance too. And we can move these birds again, just to like sort of not detract from that. So this is looking all done. I'm now going to make supporting green, and we now have a background, some ambience to accompany it, some great sort of supporting images here in our foreground, our subject or subjects, and other supporting elements to really create some immersion in this world that we've created. So this is the final result. You now have a more comprehensive understanding of all the considerations that come into play when building worlds and illustrating scenes in Canva. Did you like this tutorial? If so, please let us know by dropping a like on this video. If you found any of these lessons here useful, we'd also love to hear it in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Ed out.